It is an exciting Wednesday, my dudes, for today we are finally building another roller coaster. It has been a little while since I built one of these in my roller coaster building series, but there you go. And this is probably, so far, my favourite ride in the park, as in terms of the aesthetics. Like, in terms of ride experience, I have a bit of a soft spot for the wooden one, and also Venom, which everyone seems to hate and thinks it's unrealistic, but whatever. I like it, so I don't care. But, so this is nothing really that special in terms of the layout, but in terms of the overall aesthetic and general appearance of it, and just overall outcome, it's probably my favourite so far. That being said, there are 2 more roller coasters that I've built since then that could well have surpassed my love for this one, but right now, I'm pretty happy with how it's come out. And what kind of ride is it? It's a Boomerang roller coaster, as you may have noticed from the title. But for those that don't know, Boomerang coasters are made by, well, they were kind of innovated by a company called Vekoma. And you've got that kind of signature track style that Vekoma and Arrow coasters have. Usually, well, all the Vekoma ones anyway, the train comes out the back of the station up a hill, drops it back through the station, it goes through that Cobra roll, which is like the signature inversion for Boomerang coasters, then it goes through a vertical loop, and then up another lift hill, and then it repeats the whole thing backwards, hence why it's called a Boomerang design, because it kind of goes back on itself and repeats. So I thought I wanted to kind of build a realistic layout, so I kind of went with the Cobra roll and a loop, but I wanted to put my own little twist on it. Literally put a twist on it. We've put a new twist in that loop. So this is bigger than the standard Vekoma Boomerang size. Here I just thought about placing it somewhere else because I didn't really know what to do with that awkward patch of land in between the lake and that sort of train track curve. So I've got a bridge going there. So I have filled it since, but as of me building this coaster, obviously it hasn't been filled. So I thought about maybe using that hill to kind of add a little bit of a terrain coaster element to this thing, but in the end I didn't. No, we decided to keep it on this sort of raised tabletop bit of land here. Couldn't really think of a good way to use this land otherwise, rather than fill it with some sort of roller coaster. And the roller coaster, we've not got a huge amount of land to work with, so the roller coaster would have required to have a small footprint. So it was either between this, some sort of wild mouse roller coaster, or like the Eurofighter coaster, the ones with the beyond vertical drops, much like the Saw coaster at Thorpe Park and others. Is it Mount Fuji? Oh, I'm going to mess the name up, but it's that. The Japanese volcano that's in all the postcards with the snowy mountaintop. The name of that also is the name of a roller coaster nearby. I'll just paint that in the picture so I don't have to butcher the words for you. But here we are. One of the things I liked about this ride, as you can see, the Cobra roll is much bigger than standard coasters, such that I could build this little plaza in between the roll. And you can see I've stopped building it here, and that is because the game crashed. So I'd spent many hours building that station and this pathway only for me to revert the last autosave when I fired the game up and realised that I was back to square one pretty much. I had just the track layout, so had to kind of rebuild it again. In fact, I say rebuild it again, it then crashed again. So I lost probably about 3 hours worth of work and 7 years off my life building this video, so I hope you're all grateful. So obviously I won't show you the other attempts before it crashed, but that's just I don't really know why I felt to include that, to be honest, because this video, as I'm sure you can see, is quite a long boy, right? I probably should have tried to find every single available amenity I had at my disposal to decrease the length of it, but people seem to like the longer ones, so maybe this is something that you guys want. And I've been doing a lot of shorter episodes recently, so I have been saying I'm going to do a long one, Here we go. I very nearly split this into 2 episodes because, we are hitting the 30-minute mark. I don't want to do any episodes that are longer than 30 minutes. And I have a feeling at least one of the roller coasters that I'm yet to post in video, like I've built them, in terms of the amount of footage that exists for the construction of those coasters, I have a feeling that may require splitting into 2 videos just to keep it kind of under the 30-minute mark. If I ever do split a build into 2 videos though, I will say at the very, very beginning of the video, like within the first 30 seconds. Well, knowing my ability to go on tangents and stuff, it'll probably be like the first 2 minutes when it comes to the reality of it, but I'll make it very clear from the beginning that it's going to be a 2-part episode, because that's one of the things I hate. That's what Game Theory did before I got so sick of Game Theory and just unsubscribed, is that they would do these 2-part episodes, but they would never say it was going to be a 2-part episode or even a 3-part episode until the episode had finished. I'm like, if you just said from the beginning, I would have not watched it, which is probably why they didn't say from the beginning, but like I probably would have not watched it and then just watched it all as one complete episode at the end. And those episodes are only like 10 minutes, so you know exactly why. Well, I'm not going to get into YouTube drama here. I mean, they are a very good channel. That guy's work ethic is great. It's just, I think I just outgrew game theory is what it is. I just outgrew game theory. Much like Cinema Sins, although I have fundamental issues with the Cinema Sins channel. I'm getting very off topic here, which I guess is a staple of this series. And like I said, it's a long video. We're going to need some way of filling it. So yeah, the reason why this is such a long episode, as you can see, because it's kind of paradoxical, really, because this is the shortest roller coaster. It's either this or the junior coaster, but either way, it's a very short ride. But it has like the longest video dedicated to it. Where I think we're about the same length as the wooden coaster, but I mean that's one of the most intricate ones in the park, probably the most complex so far. So it's it doesn't really make sense. But that's because just before I built this ride, there was an update that added the ability to build proper custom supports. So I thought, let's build some proper custom supports. So I didn't put custom supports for the entire ride, but most of the ride, like the Cobra roll, I did like loads of custom supports and stuff, which kind of brings me back to what I wanted to talk about really was like the boomerang thing. So yeah, I thought like maybe I could just talk about the history of the actual, design of the ride, I've said, because I don't really know what else to talk about. So boomerangs typically have 3 different layouts. You have just the standard boomerang, which is just you go backwards out the station, drop through the station, Cobra roll, standard vertical loop, not this non-inverting one that I've got here. Then you have the Invertigo, which is kind of like, that was the first variant of the original boomerang, but it was an inverted roller coaster, hence the term Invertigo. Other than that, it was pretty much the same. Although I have a feeling I probably should have made notes here. It looks like it was a little bit bigger than the standard boomerang. And then this one is bigger than the standard boomerang. It's called the Giant Inverted Boomerang. I think the most famous one for this would be Six Flags' Deja Vu. Well, I don't know if it's actually Six Flags anymore. I know it was moved. I think it was renamed to Goliath and it's somewhere else now, but it used to be at Magic Mountain. And Deja Vu is the one that I always associate with a giant inverted boomerang because that was the one in Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. But that's just another inverted boomerang, but rather than having a standard sloped chain lift, it's a vertical lift hill essentially, and it's very big. Giant, one might say. So that's kind of the 3 types of boomerangs. So this doesn't fit either of them. But I thought, we paid a lot of money. We paid Vekoma a lot of money to have a unique spin on their traditional boomerang layout. So I feel like this is still realistic because it hasn't really deviated that much from the actual, traditional boomerang form factor layout, but it's just different enough that it makes an interesting video topic and also a good draw for the park. So I was pretty happy with this layout, to be honest. This is one of those rides where I'd like to ride it in real life. Well, I guess I'd like to ride all my roller coasters in real life, if not for fear that it might kill you with the G-forces. But yeah, I think I'd really like to ride it. And I think this is marks a level of detail I've never really done in roller coasters in this series before, or just in Planet Coaster in general. I mean, granted, there's no transfer track to a service station or something, which is like a detail I've been trying to add to all my rides so far, but the boomerangs, I'm pretty sure they don't have transfer tracks and separate garages because it's not like a loop circuit, so you only really have one train anyway, so I didn't think... I know for a fact they don't have transfer. I don't know why I'm dancing around the subject. They don't have transfer tracks, we're okay. But yeah, like I say, you just added like a little locker space in the station so guests can put their bags in the locker, like the racks, so they don't lose stuff on the ride. And obviously we're doing custom supports, we're doing this custom fencing all the way around, and it's quite an intricate station building, although it's a generic theme, which I think I'm pretty much going to commit to now for the rest of this park, just have everything generically themed, unless I find some sort of peninsula or little island of land where it might make sense to have a sort of small themed world. At this point I'm so far into the generic theming that it might look a bit weird having just this random themed area in the middle of just a generic park, but who knows. Like I say, yeah, I'd like to ride on this ride, if nothing else because I've never actually ridden on a boomerang before. The only one I've ridden is not like the standard Vekoma Boomerang. I've ridden on the family Boomerang ride, which is like a non-inverting, very gentle, family friendly. Anyway, I've actually ridden on the original Family Boomerang, it's built by Vekoma still, and it's at Drayton Manor. I was about to say Alton Towers, but it's at Drayton Manor, and it's called Ben 10 Ultimate Mission, or I think it has been renamed to something else now, but I've ridden that. It's a very uninteresting ride. It's, as the name would imply, it's a family roller coaster, but Drayton Manor only really has 2 roller coasters, so you gotta take all you can get at that park. Granted, their other roller coaster is pretty cool. It's called Shockwave, and it's a stand-up coaster. Nothing that special about it other than the fact it's a stand-up coaster. You just have a standard drop, vertical loop, 0G roll, and a corkscrew, and that's pretty much it. But you know what it does very well. Drayton Manor, the key ride, I think, is the log flume. Well, it's the log flume and Shockwave, put it that way. But yes, the Family Boomerang at Drayton Manor is weird, because it's made by, like, Vekoma has this kind of very signature, albeit somewhat outdated sort of track look. You can see that kind of boxy appearance. Same with Arrow coasters, though Arrow is not really a thing anymore. So, but you know, Arrow coasters still exist. So Arrow coasters and Vekoma, they have this very unique track design. You can always tell it's a Vekoma or Arrow coaster by the way the track looks. You can see the boxy girder appearance of it. But the Vekoma Family Boomerang is a very modern track design. I guess it doesn't need to be quite as substantial because the G-forces it's going to be, you know, enduring and nowhere near as big as the kind we're doing on this ride, and indeed, you know, all the other Vekoma boomerangs. But what's weird is that all the boomerangs in the world, my 5 minutes of Wikipedia reviewing prior to me doing this commentary didn't turn up anything. But I think Vekoma, I don't know if they have a patent on like the nature of a boomerang roller coaster where, you know, it gets sucked backwards, drawn backwards out of the station, then flown through and does the whole layout again backwards. I don't know if they have a patent on that specific thing. It seems very broad. Speaking as a non-lawyer and someone that doesn't really know anything about copyright law or whatever law this would fall under, it seems like that would be way too generic and broad to put a patent on, I guess. Unless there's just not that much demand for boomerangs, so they kind of have a niche that no other company really wants to bother competing with because it's such a small market share. Who knows, but it's interesting that Vekoma seemed to manufacture all the boomerangs. Cue the comments of people saying, oh, actually, you know, I work for Intamin and we build all this, blah, 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 blah. I mean, I made a joke last week about, actually, before we go any further, I thought I'd show a little POV halfway through. Well done, everyone. We've made it pretty much halfway. So people don't like when I talk over the POVs, so I'll play some music and join you guys in a second. And that pretty much wraps up the POV so far. Don't want to show, well, I just know why I said I don't want to show, because I did just show the entire thing in its entirety. But you don't want to get, I don't want to have the impression that we're done, because we're not done. I mean, trust me when I say the final POV is much better than what you just watched, because, it's got all the scenery, it's got the custom supports, it's got the scenery, and I actually recorded the gameplay sound as well, so you don't have to listen to Approaching Nirvana. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with Approaching Nirvana, but, it's nice to get the ambiance of the game itself, to really enhance the, I don't know, make it look better. I'm trying to, just, words, I'm not good at them, I don't speak English very well. But anyway, I was saying before I rudely interrupted myself with a POV, I made a comment in my commentary last week, saying, if there are any, train engineers or people that build train lines, just write a comment explaining what it is. Wholeheartedly not expecting anyone to actually, but I actually had a comment from someone that builds train tracks, and he, gave me a little explanation about what it was I was trying to articulate in that video. So I guess I have a more diverse audience than I anticipated. Well, I mean, I guess being a primarily Kerbal Space Program channel, I attract a lot more kind of engineer types than, say, a Call of Duty channel might, but whatever. I was still kind of surprised by it, so thank you. Oh, I probably should have looked up what your username is, but I did pin the comment, to be fair, on that video, so I hope that was showed enough gratitude there. But yeah, that was weird. So I can't remember how I got to this tangent now. It was so long ago, but I think it was something along the lines of, if anyone works for BN. Oh, that was it. Someone might say, oh, yeah, I actually work for Intermin and we build a boomerang, whatever. I don't think my Google foo, I'm trusting that. So whatever, it's all pretty much material, to be honest, because, you know, in this game these companies don't exist, so we can pretty much do whatever we want. This coaster was actually built by Lowne Aerospace. You know, in our surplus rocket division, you know, we had a bit of extra money. We thought, let's just build some roller coasters, and that's the backstory to this park. It's funny because Mirror Lake and Crimson Tower, I came up with quite intricate backstories with the parks, like, you know, where all the buildings come from and how the land came to be and who the owners are. This one I'm like, it's just, you know, surplus cash we had lying around from the space program. We just decided to build a theme park because why not? Seems like something Elon Musk would do, wouldn't it, with his SpaceX money? Another sort of eccentric deviation. Although apparently he's not the golden boy of the internet that he once was, and so I don't want to say too much. He's kind of got the whole Jordan Peterson vibe going on about him, where he's a bit of a controversial figure. Don't know why, by the way. Jordan Peterson has a cue. All the comments now, people are saying, I think problem with Jordan Peterson, he has a bit of the whole Neil deGrasse Tyson syndrome going on, where he's very good at what he knows, but sometimes he'll just deviate on Twitter. We've all done stupid things on Twitter. I myself got into a flame war with a politics channel yesterday. I haven't actually checked the tweet because I decided I don't want that kind of I don't need that stress in my life of having Twitter arguments. I put my side, they put their side. You know, let the audience decide whose response. I'm not going to engage them anymore, though. That was a bit of a weird tangent, but yeah, like, I think he just sometimes will engage in topics he doesn't know quite as much about as he does psychology, and then that's where kind of the quote unquote pseudo intellectual comments come from. But you know what? I'm not talking about Jordan Peterson. I'm not trying to I'm not trying to rustle jimmies here. Just saying. I'm just saying. I've actually got his book, actually. I got an Audible trial, which I'm not sponsored by Audible, by the way. Audible said, all right, so I had a contact from an agent. I don't know if I'm actually allowed to tell you this, but I had a contact from an agent saying, hey, I represent Audible. We'd like to sponsor you. I'm like, cool, let's talk about that. And then I haven't had an email back since. This was months ago. I messaged back saying, yo, do you still want to work together? Because I think Audible, as much as it's a meme on this site, I think it's quite a good sponsor because, you know, it encourages people, you know, I'm about to say it encourages reading, but it actually does the exact opposite, doesn't it? But whatever, you know, stories, fiction, non-fiction, you know, you can broaden your mind with books, even if they are audiobooks. So as far as companies that sponsor people go, I mean, it's better than CSGO Lotto, isn't it? So, you know, take it or leave it. But no, I didn't hear back from Audible, so I guess that sponsorship's gone. But, you know, I got Jordan Peterson's book on Audible, 12 Rules for Life. I was listening to it whilst I was chopping this footage together, so I've only listened to one chapter. But, you know, it's all right. It's pretty good. I enjoyed it. I recommend the first chapter, put it that way. I don't know about the rest of the book. Could be terrible, but right now I'm enjoying it. I did also finish a TV show called Final Space. 4 out of 10. It's all right. It gets a lot of... People seem to shower it with glowing reviews, saying it's, you know, better than Rick and Morty and Futurama, and it's not. It's not better than either of those shows. I think the problem I have with it is not so much a problem with the show, or necessarily me. I mean, it is due to me, but I think it's the difference between American and British humor. Like, you know, I'm not insulting American humor, and I'm not insulting British humor, or vice versa, even though I just gave the vice versa, but whatever. I think American humor is a lot more like, haha, like, that sounded, I wasn't trying to make like a insulting sound just then, but, you know, like kind of like just wackiness and randomness and all that, whereas British humor is just much drier and cynical, like, you know, Mitchell and Webb look, Peep Show, that sort of thing. And Final Space is not that at all. It's very just wacky, random humor, and the main character is so... I couldn't relate. He's just... Nobody acts like that. Like, I can't empathize with him at all, because every situation he's in, he doesn't act like a real person. He just acts all wacky and goofy all the time. And, you know, sometimes I'm like, you know, I just want you to like act serious. I know he does have his serious moments, but I'm not going to spoil anything, by the way. He does have his serious moments, but you know, especially in the later episodes. But still, I'm just like, I just hate this character. So I've had it on in the. I like having something that I don't have to think too hard about to have on the second screen whilst I'm doing work and stuff on my main monitor. So Final Space I enjoyed it for that purpose, but I don't know. I'm not sure if I really get. I don't think I get it. You know, people seem to love it. I just don't. I'm just not one of those people. I guess comedy is subjective. Who'd have thought? Who'd have thought? What a conclusion to have there. This commentary got weirdly deep, didn't it? No, it didn't. It didn't get deep at all. But by my standards, it's deep because my standards are pretty shallow. Maybe we should go back to talking about the ride. I feel like I don't want to talk about controversial things, whether it's insulting people's favourite TV shows or talking about people like Jordan Peterson and Neil deGrasse Tyson. But whatever. Maybe it's time I talked about Kerbal Space Program, that part in Planet Coaster videos. Namely Green Harvest. Green Harvest episode 5, I'm hoping to have ready by this Saturday, but it is taking a very, very, very long time to edit. It's probably the longest I've ever spent on at least a Kerbal Machinima video. I don't know about Kerbal videos in general. I know the latter episodes of Junior Attacks took a very, very long time to edit. And you know, some Kerbal videos like the Single Stage to Anywhere videos and Duel 5 videos always take a very long time, but I think this definitely ranks up there in terms of the amount of time just spent editing. That's because it has a lot of, no spoilers, it has a lot of kind of animated stuff, and normally I just use like pre-made stuff and really badly insert it into the thing so it looks terrible. It still looks terrible, but it's kind of like I've made all the special effects myself, but I don't own After Effects. So what I did was I downloaded a bunch of like anime fight scenes, and then what you notice in those sorts of things is that what the animators do, they'll draw like a laser beam and then just like distort it a little bit and distort it a little bit again and take like those 3 frames and just loop them again and again and just shake the camera, and it looks like a really intricately animated shot, but really it was only like 3 frames on a loop. So I've done the same sort of thing with episode 5. I've done like Canon shots and stuff where I've edited the laser beams and distorted it a little bit and looped it. In fact, that's how I did the ending shot of Green Harvest episode 4. That final shot where the ship opens fire, that was done by hand in Photoshop and then just looped. So, you know, as naff as it sounds, I think it came out pretty well, and it's coming out pretty well so far. Just need to do, I'm about 8 minutes in. I want this to be about, you know, between 10 and 12 minutes, that sort of. I want it to be over 10 minutes basically, because you know, I feel like I'm entitled to have an ad at the end, okay? That's the you know, like you can put an ad at the end of the video if it's over 10 minutes, which is stupid. I don't understand why. I don't want to put an ad halfway through because I don't want to disrupt the narrative, although sometimes YouTube auto inserts the ad, so I kind of have to go back and retrospectively remove it. But I like to be able to put an ad at the end because it doesn't affect anyone then, and you know, it just helps the channel out a little bit, you know? My taste in expensive whiskies is not going to pay for itself, guys, okay? But that's Kerbal Space Program. I've also been playing Hollow Knight. Have I mentioned this in a commentary yet? I don't think I have. But my internet went down a couple of weeks ago. I was going a week without internet, and obviously a lot of Steam games don't work. I flat out uninstalled GTA 5. I got so sick of the DRM in that game. Like, just let me play my legally purchased game. But no, every time, you know, social club's got to update, then it can't connect. I'm just like, I just want to play offline. I don't care about multiplayer. So I'm not buying another Rockstar game for PC. Even if Red Dead comes on PC, I'm just so sick of the DRM. I'm just done. I'm just done with games like that. It's a shame because GTA 5 is one of the best games I've ever played, but I just can't face going through the DRM every time I want to play my legally purchased game. Sorry, got a bit heated there. So I've been playing a lot of my GOG games, goodonlinegames.com. Oh, actually, now I've said the word GOG, I feel like someone in a comment section might have pointed out that they thought it was weird that I pronounce it as GOG, not GOG. So I'm always certainly talked about this topic. Yes, because I was talking about, I was going to say I've been playing Hollow Knight, and I think I have already talked about this topic. See, I just forget this thing. Okay, I won't talk about it anymore. Go and watch last week's Planet Coaster video if you haven't already, if you want to hear me talk about Hollow Knight. But, you know, TLDR, I had to think about what the initialism was, is a good game. It's a good game. If you like Dark Souls, you'll like Hollow Knight. And if you don't like Dark Souls, you might like Hollow Knight anyway. It's a good game. So yeah, this is the custom support. I'm going with basically the exact same appearance as the stock support, but you can see I thought it'd be kind of cool if the two converging lift hills shared like a single support piece rather than having, you know, their own that kind of clips into each other. I thought it looked a little bit naff, so I made this custom tower. And you know, I thought it came across pretty well, to be honest. So I hope you don't know. I'm getting very tired now, to be honest. It's a Monday. It's a Monday after work. Didn't get much sleep last night, and I woke up at like 5 in the morning. Didn't get back to sleep after that, so I'm very sleep deprived. All through, I had to have a glass of Pepsi just get a little bit of caffeine into me before. I can't really have a Red Bull or something because I've got to go to bed in a few hours. So I had just a can of Coke, just a can of Pepsi. I can't remember what I said now. I had, what was it? I had a glass bottle of Pepsi Max. The cool, refreshing taste. If you really care about which brands I buy. Just to perk me up a little bit for this commentary, but still I am flagging a bit, to be honest. I haven't eaten all day either. I didn't have time for lunch. I had a Baby Bell. I had 2 Baby Bells actually, so you know I had lost a bit of control just then, but I've got some meat to eat in a bit after I've done this commentary. So I'm going to do the commentary, let it render. It'll probably take about an hour and a half, 2 hours to render, and then I'll upload it probably tomorrow on Tuesday, so you guys can see it on Wednesday, my dudes. But here we are, pretty much finished the ride, to be honest. All the scenery's done. Just going to add some bushes and stuff. One thing I was going to mention very early on in this commentary, this isn't quite an original design. I mean, the actual, you know, take on the boomerang is an original design, but the actual layout, you know, the concept of having all these trees and the actual custom supports and that round plaza, I actually took from like someone built like a model boomerang, and I really liked the look of the model. I can't remember who it was. I just found it on Google Images or something, but I remembered that, and so I thought that's a really cool thing to try and imitate. So whoever you are who built that model, if you're watching this, which you're probably not, but if you are, I really liked the model. It served as great inspiration for this ride. I stole the color scheme from it, put it that way, and this little central tower access thing was also from the model as well. And you know, I think it came out pretty well. I think it came out pretty nicely. This, like I say, is probably my favorite looking roller coaster so far. I don't know if there is another roller coaster coming up that is even more heavy in the custom supports and all that side of things. But you know, I think to date, and I can't see this being topped, to be honest, because it's just got a nice simplicity to it. But it's probably my favorite looking ride in this park. So I hope you guys liked it. Let me know what you think in the comments. And if there are any kind of ride types, you know, like boomerang type, or, you know, B&M inverted that you'd kind of want to see in this park, or any ideas in general that you have for the theme park, then let me know. As of yet, this ride is unnamed as well, so if you have any suggestions for a good name, let me know, because I'm pretty much devoid of creativity at this point, although I still haven't named the wooden coaster, despite all your great suggestions. One of the leading suggestions for the wooden coaster was Kraken, but I kind of want Kraken to be like, it would be a better name for a water ride, I think, and I'd like to do a water ride in this park at some point, maybe like a water coaster. But there's a nice little shot. There will be a POV at the very end of this video, but right now I thought we'd do some little cinematic shots just showing the ride, you know, from an external point of view. So most of the queue is done, you know, but I still need to do kind of like a nice entrance archway, but I didn't want to commit to designing an entrance until I knew the name of the ride. And like I say, it's all fairly generic anyway, so there's nothing too much to worry about. So there's the forward section done. We can cut to another angle and watch the backwards part. It kind of looks a little bit violent actually on the non-inverted loop, but I don't think this would cause any damage to human riders, or I don't anticipate any other species riding this, to be honest, so I could have just said riders, but whatever. All that talking aside, we're now on the POV, so I'm going to leave you now, my dudes. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Wednesday and the rest of your week. I hope I have Green Harvest ready for Saturday. If not, it'll just be some other generic Kerbal video. But like I say, I'm pretty optimistic with Green Harvest. We're at the top of the lift hill now, so I'm going to say goodbye. Goodbye.